Here is everything you can find in Sim Update 9 from Microsoft Flight Simulator. The update is set to arrive on the 26th of April and is currently in beta testing. As always with Sim Updates, the changes are very much about improving the code and the general aspects of the simulation itself. Now, sometimes Sim Updates also include visual improvements such as the new FX that have been added to the FA-18 Super Hornet. What's happening here is that G-Force now triggers wingtips and wing vortex. You can also see the cone vapor, the vapor cone, when you break the sound barrier, and of course, as you can tell right here, high speed and low altitude flight causes interactions with water, snow, as well as dust. Pretty nice, right? So sticking with visuals for the moment, elsewhere in the sim there is the new Vegetation Debug tool. So this is a part of the SDK, and what it allows you to do is visually see how the draw distance for trees and terrain is actually functioning. So keep in mind there was some confusion over how this slider actually works. It turns out that the vegetation slider, the tree slider, is inherently tied to the terrain view distance slider, or the LOD. So this is making an appearance in Sim Update 9. Sim Update 10 meanwhile will bring some further visualizations. We're about to see many of the air currents in the sim. Elsewhere, the Cessna 172 Skyhawk G1000 is about to receive computational fluid dynamics simulation. Unless I'm completely misunderstanding things, this was added to 3 other planes in Sim Update 8, so it seems that it's the Cessna 172 turn this time around. Another interesting change and improvement is that the previous text-to-speech, the existing text-to-speech, has been switched over to Azure Neural text-to-speech. Now, I thought that was the plan all along, so if this wasn't in, that would explain quite a few things, and if you actually listen to this clip, I do believe it sounds quite a bit better.
Squawk 0576 Cessna X-Ray Golf Sierra.
Cessna X-Ray Golf Sierra radar contact 25 miles west of Sierra X-Ray Papa Mike 2,300 feet. Altimeter 29.902.
Okay then, something else that Asobo have discussed in relation to Sim Update 9 is changes and improvements to weather. Specifically in this case, cloud effects. Now some while ago, the clouds were actually somewhat degraded, at least according to some users out there. This is something that hasn't been noticed by everyone and actually doesn't seem to be affecting everyone, so maybe this is platform specific or PC specific. Not quite sure what's going on here, but it seems at least that a few people are having issues with certain types of clouds. At any rate, Asobo have introduced a number of changes and improvements here. They fixed what they're classing as popcorn clouds. These are present over clear skies in live weather, so hopefully that issue, whatever it is actually going away. There's a reduction of cloud banding that appear at close range. That one should be especially good for people who are noticing low quality clouds. Additionally, there's the ability to properly save and load cloud density from WPR files. And finally, another issue here on weather, which actually reads fixed issue where altitudes below sea level could report incorrect ambient pressures. So that's some of the key fixes. I'm not going to go over all of them. The patch notes, the current beta patch notes at least, list 191 different fixes and improvements, so way too many to go through here. Some of them are probably going to be less interesting than others. We should also keep in mind a very, very important point, and that this is Sim Update 9 beta. It's not the final release, and for that reason I won't be talking about stability or performance improvements, as to be perfectly fair on that, we're going to have to wait for the live version, the full release, the final release, before we can really judge that. One other thing I will very briefly mention though is a new Spotlight event. This is a landing challenge that will be available in the Cessna 172. It's a landing challenge at Kingston Airport in Nevada. So for those of you who like those type of things, it's a nice touch. Ultimately then, sim updates are not about brand new content, they're about fixes and improvements to the overall sim. There are a few content improvements here, a few brand new pieces of content. Of course, the landing challenge I mentioned just now. The computational fluid dynamics is also a nice touch to the Cessna 172. Beyond that, at least in terms of content, is the visuals and the FX for the FA-18 Super Hornet. Now, the reasoning for this seems to be pretty clear, the reason that Asobo have implemented this at this particular time, and that is because, very likely I'd speculate, that the release of the Top Gun 2 DLC is due in May, and incidentally that DLC is free. So yeah, the improvements to the FA-18 are not just visual related, there's around about 30 fixes to the plane as well. So all of these are very likely important for the upcoming update. Really hoping that Asobo introduce some sort of mission for that particular DLC, but yeah, we'll have to see, I guess. At any rate, that brings us to the end of this video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.